Otley is an amazing place to live, as Andy was just saying. It's a market town of about 15,000 people, about 10 miles to the northwest of Leeds. It's in the Leeds metropolitan area, as it were, but very separate. It's its own distinct culture and a real kind of vibrant community feel to it, with loads of amazing community groups doing incredible projects around the town. Some great small scale venues in the town. We've got the courthouse doing loads of good stuff. But since we lost the Civic Centre in Otley, which was a big community building about a decade ago, there's not been this large scale kind of communal space for groups to meet, to put on large scale events, weddings, school events. So we are looking to kind of bring that kind of community space back into being in the town. With our focus, our kind of true north is all about providing an amazing community space, but also we want it to be kind of commercially viable as well. So we've got lots of elements in there, like office spaces, studio lets, co-working spaces, events, cafe, bar, that will obviously gain a profit for the people who invest and the community benefit society, but also support all this amazing community work we want to do in the building. It was very much a central kind of hub for the surrounding area. It's at the bottom of a hill called the Chevin, and there's kind of the North York Moors to the other side of it. And there used to be 3 cattle markets in the town. I think there's only one, so everybody would come down, bring their cattle, their sheep to market, and sell them there. And then I think we've got 20 pubs in the town now, but there used to be probably double that for half the population. So everybody would come in, drive their cattle, their sheep into town, sell them, and have a few beverages before going back out and probably having a fight on the way. So it's got a big history of being like the communal centre of the district for that. And then during the Industrial Revolution, it became one of the hubs of printing in the area. There's a thing called the Wharfdale Press, which is a revolutionary printing machine that's still in the Otley Museum. Well, it's not in the Otley Museum. It's tucked away in a room somewhere in a warehouse at the moment. So there's no place for that. So finding a place for things like that might be an option, because there's no kind of communal space, because we've lost so many community facilities like the museum, like the civic centre, like a lot of the pubs. So yeah, like any town really, we've lost so much of that common space over the years, be that to housing developments or to roads, to flats being built, things like that. And we've also got I'd say a testy relationship with Leeds. We've got our own town council, or parish council, which doesn't have much power, but Leeds City Council kind of rules the roost over us. And Leeds City Council is one political party, and our town council is another. And a lot of people in Otley think Leeds do things to us without consulting. So there's a real independent kind of tradition here of people wanting to get on and do their own thing without other people telling them what to do. So having a space to bring all that together is really important for us, because I've been working on, like I said, community projects for the last 5 years or more here. And a lot of the stuff we do is about consultation, about how people can drive the future of their own towns, having a space to bring all those kind of creative, wonderful people in this town together to help the town thrive and set out its own kind of independent vision going forward is a key part of it for me.
Because as Andrew was saying, it's right at the cusp of both the Leeds and the Bradford conurbation. So you've got a massive population just to the south of us, but and up into the Dales. And when I moved here, it was very much about that, having the foot in both camps. And I think what I noticed when I moved to Leeds was, when I moved to Otley, was that having got involved with the group who was looking at climate and sustainability, that there's just this massive network of community organisations, massive amounts of volunteering, formal and informal volunteering, people supporting the groups that they're part of. And part of the work that Andrew's been doing with Otley 2030 is to really galvanise that and bring those groups together. And there's a huge amount of collaboration already on projects, and I think it's approaching 40 community groups that get together for lunch once a month to talk about the work that they're doing and the projects that they're doing. And really exciting to think that this can be a hub for that. And there are other venues, and a lot of those community groups have their own buildings, but just a hub where people can come and collaborate and develop projects together. I think that the community action hub element of this, where we want to support groups to get projects off the ground, support the community to get enterprises off the ground, is just a massive opportunity. And I think the link into Leeds, and this is where I might sort of differ a little bit, Andrew, is that we are a bit of a commuter town for Leeds as well, and we have great connections with the university. We do a lot of work with Leeds City Council and big organisations in Leeds like Arup, who did the big consultancy, who did a sustainability report for us. So there's a lot of love for Otley in and around the valley that we're in, Harrogate to the north. So I think we're in a great position for this. This has to be for the community. It has to be providing affordable and exciting services for the community, and it has to be able to justify the investment that people are making in it. So you've got a really good, and it's such a beautiful building and such a big building with such varied spaces, and Steph's done incredible work imagining that and painting that vision of what it'll look like in the future. But it provides a huge amount of variety for what can be done. So we imagine the community using it for things like community groups, things like community events, parties, weddings should be a really big one. And I think it's a good example of the wedding side of it, because we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of advice from similar venues and successful venues to really get an understanding of what works, what doesn't work, and actually to get a bit of a leg up. So if we think about, and to your point about the different types of income, food and drink will be a big part of it from the cafe, but actually a lot of the food and drink income for venues like this come from the events. They come from weddings, they come from gigs, that side of things, comedians, etc. You've got the co-working spaces, and office spaces. So this is places where local businesses can come in, get flexible space and grow as they grow into bigger spaces and access facilities. And that will be a key part of the hub that's supporting community organisations to come in and grow and learn. And then you've got all of those different lettings, so many rooms in the building that can be let in permanent ways, or in what you'd call sessional lets. So from half an hour to an hour to a day, right from individual meetings all the way up to conferences that we can hold there.
And that's all at rates that are affordable to ordinary folk. Is that the idea?
Yeah, the idea is that, and I'm not sure if this is, we're effectively assuming two different rates, really. What one is good, commercial, affordable in the real world, but then we expect to be providing discounted rates to community groups who are doing work that aligns to the purpose and the objectives of the organisation.
So we've had very early on in the process, we managed to secure a little bit of funding where we got, as Andy had mentioned previously, from Arup, who did a decarbonisation strategy, which kind of gave us a bit of a foundation of what we could do going forward. Now, we're quite lucky as the person who did that strategy has started to work for us. So we've kind of got an absolute expert who's really looking at this building in a very careful way. kind of climate proofing, for want of a better word, heritage buildings is tricky, but there's ways and means to do that. And I think they, first and foremost, is replacing the boilers at the moment. We just need to get it off the existing system. So we're currently working on how we can look at air source heat pumps. We've had a really good engineer come round who's looking at ways we can use the existing chimneys as flues and things like that, so we can really make use of the existing kind of structure. We do have a massive cellar we can take advantage of. We do have a side yard that we can take advantage of for these sorts of things. We'd very much like to put on solar panels as well. Now, that's going to be a little bit tougher with the heritage officer, but I have a bit of a plan how we might be able to come about that by using more of the rear roofs rather than the main church roofs. But there's a very strong argument, because depending on funding on this one, is if the grade 1 listed kind of refectory at York Minster can have solar panels, I think there's some space for local planners to consider putting them on this building, which is grade 2 listed. So there's ways and means, but we have to work it through it in a steady way. Internally, what we're doing, one of the first things we are looking at doing is putting in a secondary glazing, particularly to the chapel, as even the Methodists are on a budget, and the windows are a picture framing glass. So that's going to be our main priority. It also helps massively soundproof it, as well as retaining some heat. And in insulating places where we can, but it's kind of eradicating those drafts, and so working our way through that. And it is also part of the most sustainable building is an existing building, so there's going to have to be compromises. She's an old building and is kind of awkward and quite fiddly in its layout, but there's lots of things that we can do to make it substantially better than it is. It just probably won't be to a passive house standard. And sustainability is bigger than just energy. So how we procure, how we specify, are materials recyclable? Are they from local sources? How are we avoiding materials being exported from maybe undesirable places, and so on and so forth? So it's looking at all the pillars of sustainability in a holistic way, and not just about energy savings, although that is incredibly important, but we need to think about it in a wider sense.
Having worked across the community for the last 5 or 6 years, it feels like the heart and soul has been ripped out of a lot of communities. There's a lot of indifference, and we've seen how kind of the political system has really kind of alienated and atomized people. And we want to create this amazing space that brings the town, the community together, but also provides an exemplar for other towns, other communities to get on board and inspires them, but also kind of washes itself as a business and shows that you can run something as a business effectively and make money, but also use it as a tool of kind of social change to enable people to thrive in your local community.